Right now, we are in the land of the critically endangered tamaraws. This is Mount Iglitbaco Natural Park, a 75,000 hectare protected area in the heart of Mindoro Island. And my main goal here is to find the tamaraws. They are one of the most iconic animals in the Philippines. The problem is, they're not easy to find. But this trip isn't just about the tamaraws.
Napaka-delikado talaga rin. Nung mga kasama ko dito, binabaril kami.
Kami hinahabulo ng tamaraw diyan. Kami naakit sa kahoy.
This journey showed me what it really takes to protect something that you truly love.
Ako yung naswag ng tamaraw.
We are now here in the island of Mindoro, the only place in the world where you can find the critically endangered tamaraws. Before this, I had explored some parts of Mindoro. I've camped by its largest lake and experienced the beautiful marine life of Apo Reef. But I had yet to venture into its vast mountain ranges until now. The tamarao, or Bubalus mindorensis, is probably the most iconic animal here in the Philippines, next to the Philippine eagle.
Socially relevant din yung Tamaraw kasi may Tamaraw Bank, may mga Tamaraw basketball teams, may Toyota Tamaraw. So talagang embedded na siya sa ating culture and society sa Philippines.
But what really makes this animal special?
Actually, isa siya sa mga pinaka-unique na hayop natin sa Pilipinas. Una-una, siya yung largest land animal natin na native talaga dito. Siguro nagkaroon na rin ng mga ibang bubaline species sa Luzon. May mga props tayo nun pati sa Cebu. Pero isa yung sa mga mystery natin kung paano nag-survive ang tamaraw hanggang dito sa present time natin. Unlike nung mga relatives niya na naubos sa isla nila, naging extinct sa mga lugar.
Ano naman yung medyo basic daw, pero ano yung difference ng tamaraw sa mga Carabao?
Una sa lahat, syempre yung horns nila is letter V. Pa-V yung tamaraw or ganyan. Then yung mga kalabaw naman is parang letter C na malawak talaga. And mas malalaki syempre ang mga kalabaw. Pangalawa, mas mahaba yung bundot ng mga kalabaw. Ganon.
Pag tinanong mo talaga sa Pilipinas, ano ba yung tamaraw? Ayun ba yung maliit na kalabaw? No? So may ganon no, na bagay. Hindi nakikita na posible talaga mawala ang mga tamaraw kasi nakakabit lang lagi yung image na sa Carabao.
To understand more about these mysterious creatures, I went to a place they call the Gene Pool Farm. It's where conservationists attempted to breed tamaraws in captivity. And here, we met up with one of the very first tamaraw rangers.
Kami nadadya, may pumaritong Australiano. Sabi ng Australiano kung pwede raw sila magkuha ng similya rito, dalhin sa Australia. Mababayad daw sila ng $1 million ang isa. Ay sabi nga hindi pwede, sa Mindoro lang dito, sa Mindoro lang, sa buong mundo dito lang meron.
Ano yung purpose ng gene pool farm ngayon?
Pre-release area siya. Tapos yung mga kumbaga hayop na for release na talaga, doon sila muna minsan for a month, minsan umaabot sila ng 1 year doon para doon maka-acclimatize sila sa area. Then doon namin sila release para mataas yung chance of survival nila once na reintroduce sila sa wild.
But back in 1999, the most popular tamaraw, Calibasib, was born here in an attempt to increase their population through a controlled, facility-based breeding.
Ano ba yung reason bakit nag-decline yung population nito? Malaki yung anthropogenic effect no natin. I mean particularly yung human settlement. Mababanggit nga ng mga kinikwento ng mga matatanda noon na kahit sa lowlands ng Mindoro before, sa Sablayan, no? Yan, sa Nauhan, no? Yung mga area na, kumbaga, hindi mo kailangan akyatin, no? Nandyan na before yung mga, tamaraw.
From roughly 10,000 tamaraws in the early 1900s, the tamaraw population crashed to fewer than 250 by the 1950s due to hunting, habitat loss, and diseases like rinderpest. And over the next 50 years, their numbers fell even further to dangerously low levels.
May pag-aaral din sa behavior na hindi domesticated ang mga tamaraw. Hindi talaga sila sanay makipag-interact sa mga tao, no? At dahil di sila sanay makipag-interact sa tao, na-force silang lumayo.
Ano po yung pinakamahirap na pinagdaanan nyo bilang isang ranger?
Ay pinakamahirap po yun nung kami nag-rubing dyan, madaling araw. Kami hinahabulo ng tamaraw diyan yung bagong huli. Ay, kaya naman ang tatapang na kung kami nakakit sa kahoy, hinahabol kami. Kala ko, patay ho ako noon.
The tamaraw looks like little innocent carabaos, but in nature, they are truly wild.
Ako si Ezekiel, ako yung naswag ng tamaraw. Yung time kasi yun, nawawa ako. Tapos naghanap ako ng tubig sa sapa. Medyo malayo na yung nilakaran ko ay di ko pala alam may tamaraw pala sa gilid ng sapa. Ay di ko nakita, doon na ako na sinuwag.
March 2025, a tamaraw attacked Ezekiel and its horns pierced his legs and upper torso. He then jumped through a cliff to escape the tamaraw, falling chest first. A serious reminder for us to be extra alert as our search for the tamaraw begins.
The Tamaraw Conservation Program started in 1979 as the Presidential Committee for the Conservation of the Tamaraw under the Office of the President, then Marcos. And then in 1987, it became TCP and until now managed by the DNR.
I was lucky enough to be invited here by Eco Explorations to witness the conservation efforts up close.
Yung Tamaraw Conservation Program kasi, siya lang yung government-enabled na species specific na para sa conservation ng isang wildlife, specifically Tamaraw nga.
There are 4 sites in Mindoro where there have been confirmed subpopulations of tamaraws, but the biggest chunk of tamaraw individuals are found here in Mount Siglit Bako Natural Park. It's currently 4 a.m. here in Station 1 and we're about to trek around 6 hours. In the next 2 days, we will journey up the mountains to Station 2 and to Station 3. Every hike has its own challenges, and this one really took a toll on one of our teammates. The trek might be challenging, but every now and then, we are rewarded with scenic views of the mountains. That somehow re-energizes us to move forward.
Oh my God. Sobrang ganda.
After a long hike, we finally made it. Nothing better than a gulp of fresh spring water that came straight from nature. But since we haven't seen any tamaraws yet, the journey is far from over. As we go deeper into Tamaraw territory, we also go deep into the ancestral land of the indigenous people of Mindoro.
Para sa kanila, ang Tamaraw ay bahagi ng kanilang mundo at kung tutuusin, hindi mapaghihiwalay no yung existence ng Tamaraw sa kanila. Meron pa nga akong nakausap noon na tao buwid na sinasabi niya na kasabay pinanganak ng tao buwid ang Tamaraw.
Out of respect, I didn't get to film much of the indigenous people that we came across, but I did get permission from Zion, from the Taubuid tribe.
Sabi nga dun sa isang nakausap ko na tao buwid, sabi niya, kapag nawala ang mga Tamaraw, mawawala din kami. Di ba parang, okay, bakit ganito yung pananaw ninyo? Well aware sila na nawawala, nagde-decline ang population ng Tamaraw dahil sa mga iba't ibang mga panghihimasok sa kanila ng mga tagalabas. No? Aware sila doon. So, ibig sabihin, kung ganun na yung epekto sa mga Tamaraw, ganun din ang magiging epekto sa kanila. So, inisip nila, darating ang panahon, madi-displace din sila, mawawala sila sa lugar na kanilang pinoprotektahan.
Galing. So, our next destination is Magawang. It's the next station for our trip. And hopefully, this time around, makahanap tayo ng tamaraw. The last leg was a bit shorter, but it still had its own challenges.
Sa daan kaya may makikita tayong tamaraw? Meron din?
On the way, we actually found an interesting indigenous warning sign, this bamboo marker that's pointing toward a spear trap, a traditional hunting method set up by the tribes that live within these mountains. A bit scary, but it's a sign that we are getting close. The farther we went, the more the forest revealed traces of the tamaraw. So what's crazy is when we got to Station 3, right away we saw a family of tamaraws. Tamaraws feeding on the grass, going about their day. From the year 2000 to 2018, things started to change. From only 154 Tamaraws, their population grew and more than tripled. It was a magical experience, but nothing could prepare us for the final encounter. But before we could find more Tamaraws, we had to earn it. So during that day, we were rangers for a day, and we had to do everything ourselves, from the cooking to getting the firewood to refilling the water and bringing it up to the station. So it was pretty hard, but I'm pretty sure that's less than 1% of what the rangers actually go through. So bilang TCP Ranger, ano po yung mga responsibilidad niyo?
Patrolling monitor kami sa Tamaraw, hunter. O kung anong mga illegal na mga activities dito. Napaka-delikado talaga rin. Nung mga kasama ko dito, binabaril kami. Binabaril kami dito.
Alam mo, kaya natatakot nga sila, kaya hindi sila nag-i-step up, hindi sila nag-voice out, dahil natatakot sila na baka bukas wala na silang trabaho, ganun. So, isa sa mga pinaka-importante kong nakikita is magkaroon sila ng security of tenure.
Ano po yung para sa'yo, pinakamahirap na trabaho nyo bilang ranger?
Number 1 talaga sir, pagkain. Kasi ang duty namin dito, 22 days.
Pumupunta, umakit kayo dito. Gastos nyo yung...
Gastos namin sir. Gastos namin. Pang sariling gastos talaga namin.
Kailangan din protektahan yung mga nangangalaga sa Tamaraw kasi hindi talaga mag-flourish yung anumang conservation efforts kung hindi well-funded yung mga organization or yung mga institution na nangangalaga sa kalikasan, nangangalaga sa Tamaraw.
We are working for the funding for the implementation of the Department Administrative Order 2025-01 that institutionalizes TCP. So we are requesting from DBM to provide the necessary funding so that we will be able to give permanent positions dun sa mga rangers natin.
Ang monthly ko ay nasa 13 lang po. Kulang talaga sir. Sa katulad sa amin may pamilya. Kulang. Kung siguro hindi namin alam kung paano naman yung itipid yun.
What we did really felt like a fun learning experience. But things become different when you do this on a daily basis without stable and sufficient income and when your life is on the line.
Siguro napamahalan kami sa trabaho kahit ganito lang.
That's why our next mission is one of the most crucial parts of the Rangers' duties, patrolling the area. During the patrol, our job is to scout the area and input our observations to an app they call the SMART system. They report observations on specific plants, animals, and other signs of wildlife that over time could become useful data to get insights into the ecosystem of the Tamaraw.
Nagsiserve sila as keystone species dito sa isla. So maraming hayop ang nakadepende sa kanila. Hindi lang hayop, pati mga halaman. So once na nawala yung mga keystone species na yan, doon tayo nagkakaroon ng ecological imbalance. Doon tayo nagkakaroon ng chain effect na pagkasira ng gubat natin. And all of the people here in Mindoro are depending on the forest.
Siyempre, since taga Mindoro ako, pride and honor namin yan.
But what's crazy is after a few minutes of doing the patrolling exercise, we saw another family of Tamaraws. They were around 100 meters away from us.
Bakit po mahalaga yung mga Tamaraw para sa inyo?
Siyempre sir, taga Mindoro kami. Ayaw namin na maubos sila.
After 2018, the trend started to change. A reminder that there's still more work to do. That's why
we're going back to Mindoro Island because we still have some unfinished business.
after that journey, We officially became Tamaraw ambassadors, but I soon learned that the hardest part was going down. One of our teammates got a nasty leech infection and couldn't walk, so the indigenous community and the rangers got together to help Johnson get down safely. At some point, my sandals broke and I had to walk the last 2 kilometers barefoot. Every step really hurt, but I remember Kuya Buboy walking beside me in his boots. I kept thinking about how the rangers do that on a daily basis without proper gear, proper footwear.
And that's why I reached out to Kin to provide a little bit of support to our unsung heroes who are securing the future of the Tamaraw. Wow! And through this partnership, Kin will be giving 25 brand new pairs of these beautiful Newports to our Tamaraw Rangers for them to be able to travel to different parts of the mountains with comfort and added level of safety.
Siningi ko yung size mo. Tama. Sana tama naman siya. Ano siya pang bundok din siya.
Salamat po, sir.
So pwede mo siya gamitin habang nagtatrabaho ka.
Plus, for every pair of these that you will buy on this period, Kin will be giving 100 pesos to the Tamaraw Conservation Program.
Okay ba?
Oo, sir.
So thank you so much, Kin, for supporting the Tamaraws and our Tamaraw Rangers.